There are two roads you can pursue to build an art business online. One way is to go wide, build a big social media following, and then market your influence through advertising and product promotion. The other way is to go narrow, to nurture a small group of loyal fans who will support whatever you do. I'll pursue both of these ideas, but I'm not going to do it by waving my hands and talking to you this way. I'm going to do a painting for you that you can follow along as I paint this dead van in gouache, and then I'll talk to you about business as I do it. Hi, James Gurney in Greenport, Long Island. The neighbors here say this old van hasn't moved in years. That means it'll hold still while I do a painting of it. So let's start with the easel setup. This is a homemade sketch easel with a watercolor sketchbook on top of it. And my goal here is to just get the big lines of the picture, draw in the basic box of this boxy looking van. I'm using a water-soluble colored pencil, and I'm drawing the lines as they appear to me, but I'll check those lines to make sure the shapes and the areas are correct. The distance from the left-hand edge of the windshield to the back of that sliding door is about the same as from the A-pillar to the back of the van. Now I know there's a lot of stuff on your mind besides just pencils and brushes and paint and technique, and I thought it might be fun to discuss a more general topic while I'm doing this painting, and I'll jump back and forth between the details of what I'm doing at each stage and the more general topic. The topic comes from Sarah, a reader on Substack, who sent me this question. Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm wondering if you could share some insights and tips about how to pursue an art career online. I am interested in how to use social media and how to monetize it once you get a following.
Sarah, thanks. That's a big topic and a good topic because the internet, social media, and other online tools offer artists a lot of different avenues for building a career. Some that you may use and others you may have never heard of. I want to go through those with you. It also presents certain dangers. I want to get into those too. Maybe a good place to start is social media, the state of social media. Where is it now compared to 20 years ago when it was invented? If you think back to around 2005, when a lot of the major platforms were being invented, the whole concept of social media was very different. The idea was to share your personal life and thoughts with a finite network of known friends and family. Nowadays, it's much more about building huge follower accounts by creating more entertaining content. That means the incentives have changed and the content has changed a lot too. As a result, they've received a lot of criticism for the way that they're optimized for engagement and watch time and pushing everyone toward commercial transactions because that's what drives the web. But I find it still kind of amazing that anybody can publish anything, anytime, without having to go through a filter or a gatekeeper. That was inconceivable to me when I was starting out in the early 80s, that there might be a way to do this. So it's not all bad. Now notice how I'm holding the pencil kind of on the side to make a wide generalized line, and then switching to more of the point of the pencil when I want to draw a more firm line. I'm going over a lot of the lines a few times just to make sure I've got them right and I know where I'm going once it gets to the paint. Now the paint I'll be using is watercolor. I'll be using a small number of colors with white gouache. So across the bottom of my metal palette I've got transparent red iron oxide, pyrrole red, and cadmium yellow light, permanent green pale, yellow ochre, and on the cool side Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, cobalt teal, and titanium white. That should be enough to capture the colors in this scene. The only high chroma color is the green leaves. And those leaves are what I'm painting around with the right-hand side of my brush right now. And what I'll do is leave white spaces and then paint transparent green over that to give a feeling of the leaves. Now, a minute ago I was talking about how amazing it is that we have the freedom to publish anything, anytime to anyone. But along with that freedom goes a responsibility. And the responsibility is that you have to post frequently, consistently, and high quality material on multiple platforms. Publishers expect it, galleries expect it. If you don't, that's okay, but it really helps if you do. Post frequently, high quality content. Not easy, and it's also not easy to post and just leave it, post and ghost. You don't want to be too hung up on your numbers or how it's doing. Now, we talked earlier about the change in network orientation. That is how social media began as being something you share with your friends to being much more about just building raw numbers. And that leads to some thoughts about a content strategy. What should you post? Should it be long form or short form? Today, there's less emphasis on words and pictures alone, as there was in the early days of blogging, and more focus on short-form video. Now, these changes were already happening at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter before TikTok came along. But the dramatic success of TikTok led all the others to emphasize this kind of attention-getting video. YouTube created shorts, and they've been very successful with it. Some artists have specialized in doing short-form vertical video. The good thing is it's not just a story of attention spans getting shorter. The fact that you're watching this long-form video is proof that long-form gets a lot of views too, especially in the art field. I would suggest just experimenting with a little of everything, finding what you enjoy doing and what works, and then do more of that. Inevitably, those of us who toil in the trenches of social media, the big platforms like YouTube and Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, we're always trying to guess the algorithm. How do we feed that algorithm? The fact is, the recommendation algorithms used by these platforms determine which videos and which posts get seen. The algorithms are optimized for maximum engagement, hooking the viewer's attention and holding on to it. This has led to an oversaturation of emotionally charged content. And unfortunately, that means prioritizing outrage and negativity over nuance and constructive discourse, because posts that are upsetting or controversial always get more views. What this does to people psychologically has been studied by a number of journalists and social scientists and psychologists. If you're interested in this topic, I recommend looking for interviews with Jonathan Haidt or Tristan Harris, both of whom have said a lot about the subject of how the algorithms of social media affect especially young people. But let's face it, most of us need to promote ourselves online if we want to make a living at art. Many creators try to second-guess the algorithm in hopes of maximizing subscribers and comments and likes. That's fine as long as you don't get too emotionally attached to the numbers or the negative comments. It helps to think of platforms as push media, meaning places to publish, to put your stuff out there, rather than to place to consume information. To make the most of your time spent in content creation, it helps to streamline your workflow so that you can post similar content on multiple platforms. This is especially true with short-form video, but it's true of longer video too. You can develop a considerable amount of synergy by cross-linking content or publishing both in print and digital. Let me get back to that part of Sarah's question where she asked, how do you monetize subscribers? Supposing You've built a big following on social media. How do you turn that into lunch money? Well, first of all, you can think of this exposure as a promotional tool. Any place you share your artwork, such as Pinterest or Behance or ArtStation or LinkedIn, helps drive people toward your other website if you're trying to sell something on Etsy or sell stuff in galleries or get hired by an art director or a studio. All those tools of self-promotion help bring people to your site. You can occasionally use your feed to announce a new offering, a new print on Etsy, a new original for sale, or a gallery exhibit, but you can't always be passing the hat. You have to give a lot of stuff away for free if you want to sell other stuff. It's a basic principle of social media and the internet in general. And you can't be commercial all the time or be too slick. So in addition to directly promoting what you have to offer, you can market your influence through advertising and product promotion. YouTube is a social medium that's best able to yield a passive advertising income for its creators. Currently, the platform shares 55% of its advertising revenue to the creator. So when you run an ad on YouTube, they'll give you 55% of the income. It used to be that you could control how the ads were distributed on your video. They've kind of taken away some of that control. Like with everything else on Google, it's gotten more advertising focused, and there's a limited amount that creators can control that. But the income does start to add up once your subscriber count passes into the six-figure range. Okay, now I'm having some fun with these windows. Look at those reflections, aren't those fantastic? Painting the lines reflected in them. As you can see, I've been painting the big areas first, and now I'm eager to get down to the details. Now, another way to monetize your social media feed is by promoting other brands. And this can be by everything from placing affiliate links to full-on brand promotion, or brand integration as it's sometimes called. Let me start by explaining affiliate links. These can be to Amazon or other retailers, so that when you have a link in the description of a YouTube video, the links will take you to the products on the store page of Amazon, or I use Dick Blick because they pay much better than Amazon. These links are coded in such a way that you can earn a small kickback for each sale you generate without costing the customer anything. Now, some manufacturers offer a full-fledged affiliate partnership program where you act as a brand ambassador for their products. When your YouTube channel gets big enough, you'll get approached by these people. Companies are willing to pay you to personally promote their products or services with sponsored posts or brand integrations. You can even get your name put on brushes. But it's essential to be completely open with your followers about these product promotions to avoid giving the appearance that your judgments aren't independent, especially if you use those products in your public posts. In my case, I use some affiliate links, but I avoid brand integrations or product promotions or integrated ads. It's a legit way to make an income from social media, but it's not what I want to do because I don't want to look like my judgment is influenced by the fact that I'm receiving money from somebody. So I don't take money from any company. Sometimes if someone sends me a product, I'll try it, but never with any obligation. Right now, for instance, I'm using a big, round synthetic brush. It's part of a travel set. It was sent to me by the Richardson Company. I haven't reviewed it per se because I'm not really a art supply reviewer. That is a path you can take. As a YouTuber, you can be an art material reviewer, but you got to be organized about it. Weird.
I turned around, the truck said hello. Gosh, is that weird?
Yeah, the truck was talking to us.
Truck talked to her, and then it was a guy. Must have been a workman, or maybe it was his wife. He just sort of smiled at me.
That was funny.
Yeah, it really was. I think he knew where we looked. Hello?
Yeah, this on speakerphone.
I just,
Which I guess you're allowed to talk on.
here you
I'm painting the left-hand edge of this van, the background behind it, because the only way that it's going to look light on the upper planes of the van is if it's dark behind it. So I need to paint that dark gray behind it.
are. It's too quaint. We turn around and do the line with the underwear. No clotheslines here, darn it. I haven't seen one.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the main areas covered in the picture,
Feels like up to it. And that's great.
and then I can go in and paint some of the details like the headlights and the grill work.
Light's pretty good right now. Get that camera.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're still cleaning windows. He returns them. And you're still there. You're still there. I may join you. My kind of subject matter.
Now, I can almost hear some of you saying, well, it's fine if you have a big social media following to monetize it with advertising and product promotion. But what if my social media following isn't that big? What if I can't really move the needle? Is there some other way to make a living online if I don't have a big numbers on my following? I've got good news for you. Yes, there is. There's a whole different approach to making a living online. Instead of generating content with the broadest popular appeal, you can develop high-quality relationships with a smaller group of loyal fans.
Kings of lawn paintings.
I'm dragging this pigment-loaded brush across the rough paper to try to get the texture of the leaves.
I'm still trying to figure out the perspective of it.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Looks like you're having fun.
We are.
Get lost in it.
Sort of a fun is sort of an interesting way to put it. Sort of like a controlled disaster is more like it in my case. So, what's the idea of working with a smaller group of loyal fans and developing a different kind of relationship with them? One of the quiet trends happening online is the rise of private groups, subscriptions, newsletters, and curated communities. According to Wired founder Ken Kelly, all you really need is 1,000 true fans. Now, he defines a true fan as someone who loves your work enough to buy maybe $100 worth of your offerings per year on average. Those offerings might be books, downloads, merch, or master classes. The point is that people who are your true fans will buy whatever you put out within reason, and that's all you need to keep yourself afloat. You can make a good living that way. With this approach, you can be as active as you want to be, or not active on social media, as long as you keep enough new people entering into your smaller forums and engaging with them. It requires a deeper level of engagement and connection with your core fans. Let's consider the various ways that you can interact with a smaller group of true fans, which in turn will allow them to support you. One way is by Discord. Creators can build dedicated communities with chat channels, voice calls, and events, all conducted on Discord or Discord-like focused threaded forum, which allows you to structure the group discussion so that people aren't drowned out by random chat. Another way to interact with true fans is through Facebook groups, which can be either public or private. But an artist can foster tight-knit communities centered around shared interests, usually with forum leaders or moderators who set specific rules to make sure that the discussion and the exchange is positive and constructive. There's also subreddits, which are niche communities gathering around specific topics or fandoms. You can also find online book clubs, authors connecting with dedicated readers for discussions and insights. A lot of artists are going down the route of setting up portfolio reviews and critique sessions, where experienced painters offer constructive feedback with individual fans who they can get to know online. And of course, there's private master classes, where artists present personalized workshops and demos, either live or recorded, either individual classes or a whole series of classes, like a whole course. Artists can do this by signing up with another company like the Khan Academy or Udemy, or you can do it privately directly with your fans. This is similar to a mentorship program where you can give more long-range guidance and support to a limited number of mentees. There's also direct messaging and video calls, where creators offer personalized communications for dedicated patrons. And of course, there's the well-known Patreon, where creators offer exclusive content, early access, and personalized interactions to members who pay, usually at different categories of payments. From a low amount, which gives you access to some special content, to a higher amount where you may get original artwork. I recently joined Substack. It was originally set up for writers, but artists can also do it. You can do podcasting, you can do visuals, you can do movies. It's essentially a subscription email newsletter where you can get in-depth content to paid subscribers or put it out there for free. Another one is Kickstarter. Usually it's project-focused. Creators invite backers to support the projects they contemplate and propose in exchange for special rewards. I mentioned Udemy before. This is one of several platforms for teaching. Teachable, Udemy, Skillshare. All these are ones where experts share their specialized knowledge either about painting or about digital techniques or visual effects or animation. And they earn income by creating and selling online courses. The advantage of going with these companies is that they can reach a larger market share because of their dedicated base. Gumroad is a platform for creators to prepare digital content, usually teaching videos or audio material or other digital content for students and fans to purchase and download. Another one is Selfie. And then you can do exclusive challenges and contests. Participants respond to a challenging prompt, often tied to a month, theme, or season. And sometimes people do voting or feedback, polls. It doesn't have to be behind a paywall. It builds community if you invite people to put in input to shape the future content and projects that you want to do. All these online modes of interaction can be supplemented with a variety of face-to-face events or workshops or meetups where you meet people face-to-face. I think it's best not to think of your audience as a collection of distant faces, but rather as a collection of tiny individual personal relationships. So don't worry about the size of the audience. It's the quality of the interaction that really matters. Curbmaster vans were very popular. They were made by the Grumman company, which also made airplanes, hence the aluminum construction. And they're in pretty good shape, considering. I'm looking forward to doing the lights and the grill work on the front. I'm drawing with a pencil to locate where those go, and I can draw directly on the dry watercolor paint. And then I can come in with a brush to paint in the reflectors and the light areas inside the headlights. Now, we've been talking about promotion and monetization, but what about the art itself? After all, shouldn't your love of what you do be leading this whole exercise? What kind of art that you do throughout your career should embody 3 essential factors: aptitude, what you're good at; interest, what you like doing; and market, what you can sell. And people are always joking about what you're willing to do as an artist. This guy, for example.
I stop here. Can I get in on it?
Yeah, hold for 2 hours, I'll get you in.
2 hours, that's all.
And $20.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm not going to paint him in. Let's imagine those 3 essential factors of a productive, happy career as 3 overlapping circles in a Venn diagram. At the top, the red circle is aptitude, what I'm good at, what I'm trained for, what I know how to do. Secondly, you've got the market, what someone will buy, what people are willing to pay me for. And the third thing, what am I interested in doing? I have to love what I'm doing to spend time doing it. To be fulfilled at making art, you have to be skilled at what you do, but you also have to be interested or even obsessed by it. If you want to survive doing it, there has to be people willing to pay you for it, either a few people paying a lot or a lot of people paying a little. Now, the yellow area represents a person who has skills at something and interest in doing it but can't find a market. They just can't survive. And if you have the market wanting to buy and you're interested in doing it but you don't have the skills, you can't compete against people who do have the skills. And the magenta area represents people who are good at something and there are buyers for it, but they just don't have their heart in it. They, unfortunately, won't last because they won't put the time in it and the passion to do it right. The 3 circles intersect in a central section marked what I should work on. That's the sweet spot where you can be productive, happy, and make a living. Now, these circles will shift and change throughout your life as you evolve new interests and skills. As tastes change, and as new technologies for distribution and monetization appear. Every few years you got to check to see if that sweet spot has shifted under your feet. After I formulated this whole idea of this Venn diagram, I realized the Japanese already had a similar concept called ikigai. It's similar, what you love, what you're good at, what you're paid for, but they add one more, what the world needs, which adds sort of a service or missionary quality to the whole enterprise.
Yeah, it looks great.
Has that van been parked there a long time?
I think he uses it for storage.
Oh, okay. It looks like it hasn't rolled around much lately.
Because I was just looking at those windows and going, what is in there?
He used to use it actually for his, for the delivery of furniture and
Yeah.
stuff. But my bedroom is on the 2nd floor, of course, and I put my makeup on in the window there,
Yeah.
and that is, that's my...
So let's take a step back and ask ourselves, what are some of the challenges for artists building an online business? Number 1, the challenge is to stand out in a crowded space. There's a lot of artists. I'm constantly running across artists whose names I've never heard of before. The internet's bursting with talented artists, so it's hard to get your work seen and to establish yourself in a saturated market, especially if you're doing subject matter or approaches or market areas that are popular. Another challenge is balancing your creative life with your business life, your family life with your business life. And I did a post on Substack, which I'll link in the description, about balancing family and art, how to do that. If you find the business side less inspiring than creating art, think of business as a creative act in itself, and it really is. You can be creative in how you do your promotional ideas and make it kind of part of your artwork. There's also some real technical hurdles to setting up websites, learning new programs, learning new software for a lot of people, for me especially. Social media requires some video skills, and I'll do a future post if you're interested, or future video about ways to shoot videos and how to set up your camera and tripod to capture the video you need of a given painting. And pricing your work. It can be difficult to confidently price your artwork or your artistic talent to reflect its value while still being competitive. A little while ago, an aspiring artist named Alan Michael Voth had some questions for me about how do you make money as an artist? Well, Alan Michael, my income has always been an evolving pie chart of many sources, including book royalties, commissioned illustrations, digital downloads, lecture fees, workshops, exhibition rentals, sales of original art, book and print sales from our online store, consulting fees, merchandise licensing, and options of intellectual rights for entertainment, such as movies, theme parks, etc. It sounds like a lot of active sources, but at a given time, 90% of the income would come from just 3 or 4 of these, and the distribution shifts every 5 to 10 years as the art markets change. I've always resisted taking on direct sponsorship money and on my social media feeds. I've resisted Patreon-type crowdsourced models, and I've turned down certain jobs for teaching at art schools, being art director at a magazine, some private commissions, and concept art jobs for movies and illustration jobs. These could all be valid sources of income, and I've dipped into those wells before, but I've passed on opportunities because of being just too busy or because they didn't match my goals at the time. Alan Michael continues, "Do you do anything else to support your lifestyle?" "No, but I'm keeping my dishwashing skills sharpened in case I ever need them." By the way, that was my first real job as a dishwasher, so I try to keep those skills up. He asks, "Is the pay enough to make a living?" Not always. We've had some very good years, but there have been a few very lean years too, where the income did not match expenses and we had to rely on savings. The tightest years were when we had kids in diapers, and then 18 years later when those kids entered college. My wife and I have always been savers. We don't spend much and we don't have employees. I recommend keeping enough in savings to allow you to survive for at least 6 months without any income. He continues, "How long did it take to get to that point?" Well, I worked for an animation studio at Bakshi Studios for about 1.5 years before launching off as a freelancer. That gave me time to build up a reserve of capital. Plus, I acquired a set of skills and a good portfolio. My initial samples were strong enough to get me just enough freelance work right away, and I turned down an offer from another animation studio, which was Disney. The income from working full-time as a commissioned illustrator was barely enough to stay ahead, but it's what I wanted to do. After 10 years of working for other people, I got it into my head to create my own fantasy world, which became Dinotopia, Land Apart from Time. That was a breakthrough in many ways, both in terms of income and creative satisfaction. For that, I worked with an agent and a publisher who shared in some of the income. Success will come eventually if you do high-quality, original work and handle your business responsibly. I'd rather have a steady build than an overnight hit, though. Another thing I recommend is do 90% of your work that you want to do for a living, for income, but always save 10% of your time for just something fun you want to do as a hobby. Morning. That may end up becoming part of what you do as an income, but it also keeps you happy. He asks, what would you avoid? Don't borrow any more than you have to. Don't get stuck in consumer loan or credit card debt. Don't marry someone who expects an expensive lifestyle. But more importantly, don't cut corners in your artwork. Every painting you create will follow you online. Nothing goes away. Always do your best work with every opportunity, whatever the time or money. Be the best at what you do best. Another thing, if you work with studios or with art directors, don't be a pain to work with. Don't leave your clients or coworkers in the dark. Communicate clearly, briefly, and often. Deliver on time. Don't complain. Build up other people. Be cheerful, constructive, helpful, and professional. I want to leave you with a few thoughts to take with you after this video ends. We are lucky to have so many free tools that allow us to publish our own content to our own audience and build our own career. Along with those growing avenues of independent expression, we've witnessed the decline of gatekeepers and tastemakers. They're still there, but you don't need them. The price of this independence, though, is that each of us has to be our own designer, copywriter, and marketer, in addition to making the art. If you want to work for yourself, you've got to develop a wide range of skills and interests. There are only so many hours in the day, and you have to decide how you want to spend your time.
You're going to go on to do something else, right? You think you are.
I think we are. I mean, as long as we got a couple of hours.
Yeah, we'll be out
I don't know
again.
where. Do we have any ideas?
Maybe those fishing boats, or we'll see. Because there's no...
fishing boats.
There's, I don't know if the boat is in.
We walked in and looked at fishing boats before we settled
There's
here.
one near the hospital. That's the one that I was going to take you up over to that one. But I don't know for sure because he may be up at the main dock.
Oh,
Yeah. Because it's a wonderful old ratty old fishing boat, and they have their stand where they unload the fish. And sometimes if you get there, you can have it.
Oh, nice.
You can actually see them.
you're getting a compliment, dear.
Oh, thank you.
See, this is over there is my painting. See the guys in the back of the barn?
Oh, yeah.
That's my painting. I always have to get a figure.
Yeah.
I'll be going, that's perfect. Look at that.
And he's not moving too much.
You got the furniture.
Yeah, we got some nice.
All right.
Oh.
I've irritated everybody enough. I'm done with it. I'm going to join you.
Thanks for hanging out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we will, because he's.
Yeah, I'll be done in I don't know when, but we'll tell you if we end up somewhere else, we'll let you know.
Okay.
End screen time, and that means you can go to the video I mentioned where I'm painting that boatyard, or you can go to this playlist of watercolor videos. I got website with signed merch, subscribe to my videos, and thanks to everyone who's joined me on Substack, where I have 3 new releases each week of lots of advice and lots of good dialogue.